Good evening. This is the May 4th, 2015 Public Works Committee meeting for Abington Township. We have a roll call, please.
Commissioner Stanley?
Here.
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 Here. I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of the March 30th, 2015 Public Works Committee meeting.
Second.
Motion has been moved and seconded. Anybody have any corrections or additions to those minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Moving on to the agenda items, we have PW1. This is the 2014 Capital Improvement Program. It's a motion to approve and enter into contract with Almeida and Hudak Contractors, LLC, for the 12 projects in the 2014 bond issue, Phase 2, storm sewer projects, in the amount of $1,190,255 to be funded from the 2014 bond issue and 2015 MS4 projects, and I so move.
Second.
The motion has been moved and seconded. Is there any comment from committee members? Other commissioners present? Yes, Commissioner Stephen Klein.
Mike, where do we stand with Phase 1? How far along? What was it, 47 projects, I think, in Phase 1?
In Phase 1, yeah, we're about 80% completed on them. We have about 5 or 6 projects left on that, and there's about 20 projects on this project.
So how quickly would we be engaging in these Phase 2 projects?
I would think we're going to start them probably right away over the summer. The ones that remain are going to move a little faster, and then all we have left is get back into this. Most of it's cleanup and finishing up a lot of the projects from the beginning.
And do you have an accounting of where we are with Phase 1? Have we stayed within, stay within budget?
Stay within budget.
Okay. Great, thank you.
Yes, Commissioner Carol Gillespie.
Thank you. I just had a question now. In this second phase, will that be the project that's going to go from Tag Avenue down Easton Road? Will that be included?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, thank you. That's great. Thanks.
Any other commissioner?
Quick question.
Yes.
Mike, who had Phase 1? Which contractor had it?
You didn't know that had got Phase 1.
Same contractor. Okay, thank you.
Any comment from the public? Yes, I'm sorry.
Just one technical question, Mr. Powers. I'm sure this is probably self-explanatory, but obviously you and your staff were happy with their work throughout Phase 1.
That's right.
Goes nothing. All right. Just double checking.
Comment from the public?
Excuse me.
Laura Lehman, 1431 Bryant Lane, and as many of you are aware, after the TV program, the flooding program was one of the first issues. So sewer and flooding are intricately tied together, and what the projects that are done for one affect another. And as you also know, I have been, as yet, still unable to obtain a concise analysis of the streets that are paved. And in that same vein, the number of dollars that we spend on sewer from capital improvements, sometimes it comes from grants, sometimes it comes, transferred over from this fund, sometimes it comes from HUD, and there is not, to my knowledge, a single sheet, as I would like to see a single sheet on the paving, so that when budget time comes, we can see we paved this much, our streets are better, our streets are worse. We used this much money total for sewers. Came from many sources, but we used this much total year in and year out, and that would give us at budget time a sense for what needed to be appropriated and what didn't. And I would just like to encourage that those kinds of summaries and reports are very easily accessible. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just one comment, if you don't mind.
Yes,
so,
Commissioner Gillespie.
Not sewers, storm sewers, correct? Just to make that note, it is storm sewers.
They're all combined.
They go in.
If they go in the same place.
It's very bad if they go in the same place.
Okay. No, I'm sorry.
It is storm sewers
Yes.
and sewers, and the storm sewers and the sewers are intricately combined when we talk about
I think we
flooding
understood that.
situations.
Thank you. Okay, let's move on then to, I'm sorry, hearing all the comment, all those in favor of PW1? Aye. The ayes have it. PW2. This is the emergency repair storm sewer system, the 2700 block of Fifth Avenue. This is a motion to approve the engineering department to hire a contractor to repair the large elliptical concrete pipe in the 2700 block of Fifth Avenue at a cost not to exceed $26,500 to be funded from surplus funds from the 2014 bond issue, and I so move.
Second.
Motion has been moved and seconded. Is there any comment from committee members?
I guess,
Yes, Steve, you want to go to staff?
yeah. This looks like a huge job here. Has this been a while, coming, or is this from winter?
Actually, just found out about it on Friday.
Really?
Tim went out and looked at it. We assessed what we need to do.
Okay.
We revisit the road program. We're going to be a big machine in there to lift those pipes back up, put a foundation underneath the pipe, and fix the fence in the wall. This is our estimate of what it's going to cost. There is money left over in the bond issue from the bids, so we're trying to utilize that money for now to correct this fund.
Okay. Because I guess my question was, are there any other large pipes like this throughout the township that could possibly be damaged as bad as this one? It looks.
Well, it could be.
It could be.
We know about them. We deal with each one in the account. I have two creek locations where there was some damage on our creek bed, our paving walls collapsed on Golden Road. We had a collapse over on Fillmore Avenue. But I'm waiting to hold those projects till we get capital together in September before, I suggest we do them first before we do anything else. We see if anything else happens over the summer or anything else becomes more important than the money we have left over in the bonds.
So I guess if we see something, if our constituents see something like this, they should report it ASAP. So,
As we can look at it and see
yeah,
if it's an emergency or blow off for a couple of months, and crews go out,
Yeah.
and might go out and evaluate it together.
okay. Thank you.
And just so the public knows what Commissioner Kalinowski is referring to are photographs which accompanied this board action request that we have at our disposal in our books. Thank you. Yes. Any other Commissioner comment? Yes, Larry Jones.
Thank you. Just to clarify, so when you say that you want, that residents should go out and report and take a look, if I'm a resident and I have one of these pipes in my backyard, is it, I guess it would be advisable that I check it out every now and then, or do I not want to do that? Would I just, is that something that the township does, or do we only want to hear from them if it's broken, so if it ain't fixed?
The township does it too, but we have miles and miles and miles
Those
of
pipes.
storm sewers and sanitary sewer systems in the township. So if the resident sees something and brings it to our attention, it's the first thing we do is go out with that as a group. What we can do and the funds can be available.
And even as a preventative, if I see a significant difference in the condition, it's not broken, but it looks like something I should notify somebody.
Bring it to our attention.
Okay, thank you so much.
Any comment from the public?
So first of all, Mr. Powers, we can't hear you. If you could speak more closely into your mic if you have occasion to speak. And the other thing I want to clearly explain, because some commissioners seem not to understand, is that when the overflow from storm sewers, because there aren't enough storm sewers in, the overflow goes into those vents from the sewers. That causes backup from the sewers and has on many occasions in multiple townships. And we had in an earlier meeting, if you recall, a brand-new wastewater manager in charge of the sewer system who didn't even know that some of those vents had been plugged up, which relates to the sewer gases. So the storm sewer and the sewer system are intricately connected, and in order for them both to function properly, you who are overseeing need to understand how they do function. Thank you.
Thank you for the instruction. I really needed that.
You're welcome. I'd be glad to help you with some more.
I think I understand it. I've lived
That's
here long
enough,
enough.
please, ma'am. Resume your seat. Any other comment from the public? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Any comment from the public on general public works matters? Yeah, I'm sorry, before we get to, one moment, ma'am. Mr. Mikola wants to make a public works comment.
As we spoke at the last meeting, I talked to you about the possibility of getting another electronic collection set up since county had backed out and will not be having one this year. I had originally anticipated them having one in June. I was going to have one early in the spring and in the fall. There's a big gap between any that are going to be out there. So what I did was I went to work on it. I spoke to the board last meeting and said I was going to try and pull something together. If I'll be able to pull something together, it'll be, as long as the board doesn't have a problem with it, on June 20th, we will have an electronics collection at the Highway Yard again. That should cover the gap that we have between the fall and the spring collection. Television will be accepted. There will be a $20 charge for televisions. You will not be paying the township. You will be paying the vendor directly. So we will not be handling any money. It will be between them and the vendor. The vendor will be running the entire collection, so we will have no manpower, no Abington Township manpower other than me opening the gates for them and making sure everything runs okay.
Thank you. Yes, Commissioner Peggy.
Is that flat screen TVs and the big old TVs?
I'm sorry. It's only the tube TVs and the tube computer monitors. That's the only two that are being charged. There'll be a slightly higher charge for the rear projection, the giant 60-inch rear projection TVs. I haven't figured out what that number is yet, but whatever, a fair amount with the vendor is what we're going to charge for it. Yeah. This is only going to be until the majority of those tube TVs are gone, hopefully within the next couple of years. The problem is I'm getting tons of phone calls from people who have no way to dispose of them.
Right.
They've called some other vendors who are charging $120 to $220 to take a television off of them. So in order to accommodate the residents of the township, that's what we're going to be doing.
And what times? What would the times be?
I don't have the times written down. It's our normal time. I think it's 9 to 1.
9 to 1.
Yeah. Okay.
That's a Saturday, right, Ed?
That's a Saturday. What I'll do is I'll make sure I send something out to every commissioner and to staff and also to the manager's office so that they can post it on our website and everything.
Commissioner Spiegelman.
Ed, first of all, this is great news. Thank you very, very much. I've had a lot of inquiries about this. Will the same, as far as you can tell now, will that same policy of a $20 charge for tube TVs and monitors and a somewhat of a higher charge for the big rear projection ones, will that also be in effect at the already scheduled fall, anything with a public collection, or is that going to be a no TVs event?
Yeah, that's going to be for that one too. Okay. Because it's virtually impossible to get rid of TVs anymore. All the vendors are having a hard time getting rid of them. Their cost just to disassemble them and get rid of the stuff that they have in them safely is well over $20 a television. But of course, they make up on the other end. They make money on the taking apart the computers and everything else that they have, some electronics.
Commissioner Larry Jones.
Thanks. So this is ready for prime time. This is going to happen, or
this will happen. I set it up today, pending something. A vote for the board saying no way.
But
I didn't anticipate that, but so it's on its way. All I have to do is call them in the morning and say, yeah, it's a go.
The board will say yes way.
You're my hero.
Thank you, Ed.
Yeah,
yes,
thank you.
now we can move to general public comment.
Laura Lehman, 1431 Bryant Lane. And as I mentioned before, the issue with the streets thing and not being able to get that information is huge. Last time we had a commissioner who decided that it would take too much cost to get that information for us, and that we might actually have to hire somebody just to accommodate my personal interests. But I think, I don't know if the public knows, but I assume that all of you know at this point that a $5 million lawsuit has just been levied against the township. And the amount of cost that the township spent to try and keep documents out of my hands is what's frightening. And that, I think, is something that every single one of you should be looking into and trying to understand, because there were no holds barred when it came to doing what they needed to do, and quickly, let's try and destroy the documents, and let's not even wait for the opinion. And no matter, we need to have legal advice on this, we need to have our legal people working on it. All of that costs so much more than crossing out the phone numbers and the Social Security numbers and providing the documents for the sake of transparency. Many of these documents are needed in issues like the $5 million lawsuit. And all of you should be concerned about that method of operation in this township that is not transparent. And I would ask you, please, at this point, I am asking still again, I'm telling you, I still do not have the simplest, from 2007 to 2015, how many miles of road was paved. I actually can't get that information, so that at budget time, we could have a cogent conversation about whether enough miles of road were being paved or not. That's simple. And yet, that information is being withheld at great expense to the township. So I would ask you to consider to change that model. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Hearing none? Meeting's adjourned.
I will call to order the Code Enforcement and Land Development Committee meeting for May 4th, 2015. May I have a roll call, please? Here.
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 All right. First, we have a motion to approve the minutes of the March 30, 2014 Code Enforcement and Land Development Committee meeting, and I so move.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any comments or corrections, additions to the minutes? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Minutes are approved. First, tonight we have CE1. This is ordinance number 2093, an ordinance to amend section 801N of the zoning ordinance, purpose to regulate seasonal outdoor sales within the township. This is merely an announcement that a public hearing will be held on Thursday, May 14th, 2015, at 7:30 p.m. on ordinance number 2093. Purpose of the hearing is to amend the Abington Township Code, Chapter 162, entitled Zoning, Article 8, Supplemental District Regulations, Section 801N, Display and Storage of Goods. Next we have, did you have a comment on that, Commissioner Gillespie? No? Okay, next we have CE2, Lease Agreement, 1220 Huntington Road, Abington School District. This is a motion to amend the February 8th, 2005 lease agreement between the Township and the Abington School District for the Township-owned parcel at 1220 Huntington Road to allow for parking by the public on weekdays from 5:30 p.m. to dusk, and to extend the lease agreement for an additional 5 years, and I so move.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Director Mateo, did you have a comment?
As you know, this is part of the land development process from 2005. Last week, a couple of us were there, Mr. Klein, and the ribbon cutting for the fields between Penn State and Abington School District. It's very nice. What they've done there is extremely nice. This, which all of you have a copy of, the park, this used to be our pumping station across the street of Huntington Road, excuse me. and they're going to be allowed, whomever uses the fields, to use this from 5:30 to dusk, which is going to help out the residents of Huntington and Rosemont.
For the public.
For the public, I'm sorry, yes, sir.
Any comments from commissioners? Commissioner Heck.
Just a question. What is the agreement with respect to the weekends? Is this available on Saturday and Sunday?
No, it is.
It is not.
The manager.
It's just limited to weekdays.
Okay. Thank you.
Other Commissioner, Commissioner Klein.
So there's no cost in this to the township?
No.
And why only 5 years? Was there some concern about going longer than that?
Now, the initial lease expires at the end of this year, and as the school district asked us to amend it to accommodate the land development approval for the improvements to the fields, the agreement with Penn State Abington, they noted that the lease does expire at the end of the year, so they asked for a 5-year continuance. It was at their suggestion.
Is there any, I assume that the situation with the parking that Commissioner Hecker had to deal with is going to continue for, as long as the fields are there. Is there is it worth going back to the school district and seeing if we get a longer term on the lease?
Well, it's our property. I think.
So we're
leasing our property.
Right. Yeah. But is there any way to memorialize this for a longer period of time?
Certainly at the board's discretion. I think initially we opened up that parcel to provide for parking for school bus drivers. With the revisions to the playing fields on Huntington Road through the land development process, it was agreed that we would open up that parking lot to the public from dusk until, from 4:30 to dusk on a weekday basis. I guess the board could extend the lease as long as they feel appropriate. So the initial lease was 10-year period.
Right. So if the lease were to expire and the board and the school district didn't ask for an extension, we would just have complete control over that parking area.
That's correct.
Mm. Okay. It's up to you.
Well, it's worth thinking about.
Yeah. If we were to change that, if we were to think about changing it, we could do that next week.
We could, and Ms. Gallagher just pointed out, the initial lease that was approved back in 2005 did provide for 5-year continuances of the lease in the future, and that's why the 5-year extension was requested.
Thank you.
Other commissioners? Anybody in the staff? Members of the audience? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. CE2 passes. Next, we have CE3, ordinance number 2095, ordinance to amend PB, Planned Business District, adding paragraph 32, student apartment housing use, H1. This is a motion to advertise a public hearing on ordinance number 2095 for Wednesday, June 24th, 2015, at 7 o'clock p.m. Purpose of the hearing is to amend the zoning ordinance to allow for student apartment housing in the PB Planned Business District. And I so move.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any comments from commissioners? Commissioner Klein.
Can we, since this is going to be advertised in plenty of advance, can we make sure that this meeting gets televised? Since I'm sure there are a fair amount of interest.
The special.
What's that?
Definitely.
The special meeting, June 24th meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Obviously not.
Right, and there's no problem with that, Manager LaFever, I assume?
No problem at all.
Yeah, we usually do the zoning changes or amendments.
I think I mentioned it.
Thank you.
Definitely.
Any other commissioners? Members of the staff? And the audience?
Laura Lehman, 1431 Bryant Lane. And the question that I have, is some of the residents were mentioning that the proliferation of nonprofit uses, so I believe that the student housing would fall under the nonprofit, and so the property tax would possibly not be applicable on that property. And then also the concern was that students obviously have very little income or no income, negative income sometimes, ask mom and dad. And so the issue of the earned income tax would also be missing from those things. But then the question came up about how that, the proliferation of the apartments for students would affect the enrollment at the school. And under what limits is the school for the enrollment, because it's already sort of burgeoning in that area. And the residents that live near the school have had sort of a constant need to keep watch on various issues, attend meetings, fight for this protection or that protection. So the concern is, how would the proliferation of the student housing affect the growth of the school? How do we learn about that? Because that is actually a huge issue when considering whether or not this kind of thing should be approved, which would allow tons of student housing. So how would we learn about that?
You completed your comments?
Yes, but that's a question, and in the rules of order we have if we can't get the answer at the meeting, then usually somebody promises to get the answer after the meeting, if I recall.
I would suggest you come to the hearing to hear about it, the multiple public hearings.
Well, I'm asking a question at the meeting. If you don't answer now, I would like to know who might answer it after the meeting.
I would contact our township manager.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Okay. Any other comments from the public? All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Finally, we have CE4. This is ordinance number 3000, ordinance to amend Chapter 98, Housing Standards, Section 98.2.A, Amendments to Standards. This is a motion to advertise a public hearing on ordinance number 3000 for Thursday, June 11, 2015, at 7:30 p.m. The purpose of the hearing is to amend Chapter 98-2.A, PM-303.8, storage, parking, abandonment, or keeping of any licensed or unlicensed motor vehicle, watercraft, trailer, or any parts there shall not be permitted on any lawn, grass, or right-of-way area, and I so move.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any comments from commissioners? Commissioner Klein.
Yeah, I just noticed something on the first page. It refers to Boca National Property Maintenance Code, 1993, 4th edition. Is that the most up-to-date? Should we be revising that also? Or is that the last time that the property maintenance code was updated?
That's correct. It's the last time the property maintenance code was in 1993.
That's the last time? So we're still going off of...
We're still working with it.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
President Luker.
I think this is a very good ordinance, and I hope we can get full support behind it.
Thank you.
It'll help every ward in the township.
That is correct.
So do I. Thank you.
That is correct, sir.
And kudos to whoever pushed this to get it on the agenda. And thank you. But I want to thank council for drafting this ordinance. Very, very well done. Thank you.
And I should also mention this came up in a lot of our zoning meetings, and there was some debate as to whether this should actually find its way in a zoning ordinance or in a separate, or amending an ordinance in the township. And I'm glad it didn't find its way in the zoning ordinance because it's not really a land use issue.
This is a property maintenance issue. We need to get this addressed immediately. So we thank you all.
Well done. Thank you.
Other commissioners. Commissioners LePen.
All right, who's going to police that? The police department? Just throwing that
See
out
the old
there.
gray hair guy?
Yeah, I am. I'll call you.
Thank you.
I have one tomorrow.
Can't call him until the...
Mr. LaFever calls us.
I think Carol could police it.
Well, I am. I'm pretty good at it.
Carol, you help me out.
Cat's parked on the lawn right now outside the building.
Carol helps me out a lot.
It's totally annoying.
Did you have another comment, Commissioner Gillespie?
No, I am just, thank you for getting this together. It's really important. As everyone knows, I've lived here all my life, and I'm seeing cars parked on people's front lawn. I'm like, where am I? So I appreciate everyone's support. Thank you.
And Commissioner Gillespie, thank you for initiating this.
Commissioner Farron.
Thank you, Commissioner Sanchez. Just a point of clarification. When it says long grass or right-of-way area, would a right-of-way area incorporate any ground that would have gravel thrown over it if a homeowner was trying to extend their driveway casually, so to speak? Would that be covered under this? And I guess I'm aiming that towards the solicitor.
Yeah.
It is intended to cover the areas along the side of a property where if there's not a curb, where the road and the gravel turns into grass. That's what it's intending to cover, not if somebody, it's not intended for the driveway. It's intended for people parking on their lawns. And, you know, you have 2 tires on the road and 2 tires on the grass where the grass begins. That's what it's trying to prevent.
Right, and that's what I'm asking. But if somebody threw gravel down into where the grass is, that's okay?
No, we don't want you parking in the right of way.
Right.
If there's not public parking, if you can't park, if there's not parking permitted on a street because there's not ample place to park on the street, we don't want you coming up onto the roadway, even if you have horrible brown grass like mine, or you throw gravel down or something along those lines.
You cannot park.
Yeah, you can't park.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Commissioner Hecker.
Thank you, Commissioner. Just a quick question. What is the penalty for being in violation of this? I couldn't find it.
That's a good question, Tom.
Commissioner, the ordinance as presented is an amendment to an existing ordinance, so it's whatever would be under those codes. We'll get you that information before.
Thank you.
Whatever the property maintenance fines are,
right.
That's what I apologize. You know, we charge, we cite $125 or something, $125. You go to the judge, and one case we had last week, the judge only charged $10 as a fine. I know it really helps us out to switch all the paperwork. But it's whatever's in the property.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Klein.
And Commissioner Farron, we have to get in touch with that lady who kept asking the questions about this during our zoning meetings.
She's very excited.
Yeah, good.
She's very appreciative, yes. Thank you.
Okay, make sure all of you please send out to the residents so they know about this, please.
Any other commissioners? Commissioner Farron.
I'm sorry, just to play devil's advocate. If I wanted to put some kind of political protest on my yard, could I claim freedom of speech, First Amendment?
No. This is a property maintenance issue. You're not permitted to park your car anywhere you want. So if we
even if it's my property,
but we're allowed to create reasonable regulations, and this is an ordinance that is in many municipalities and has survived challenges in many municipalities.
Okay, perfect, great, thank you.
If I may add, it's also, as you know, in the residential districts, we have certain limits on impervious surface and building covers. This is why we have these regulations. So you have one person, which I know Carol and I are on, that likes to park a school bus on the lawn and drive. It's not even funny. That's what we're trying to do. Okay.
Commissioner Jones.
Thank you. So this is what I thought Commissioner Farron meant. I thought he meant that if I kind of am driving in my driveway and I kind of veer off and make a right all the time or left, and I start to make the tire tracks and I throw gravel on those tire tracks and then kind of extend my driveway that way artificially, that's still my lawn, so to speak, correct?
Correct. And we would be taxing Mr. Mateo's department because at that point in time they would have to determine where the original driveway was and where it ended. We'd probably have to go back and look at original site plans to determine whether or not someone illegally extended the driveway. I think somebody going to that level, or somebody maybe putting a little extra strip of asphalt so they can fit 2 cars instead of 1, is really not who we're going to catch with this. What we're going to catch is the guy or the person who is pulling their car right onto the lawn or has people over during the weekend and they have 7 cars sitting on there, and that's what we're trying to catch, and that's what we're trying to prevent.
Well, storing the cars.
Yep. Well, not just storing, but just parking. We already, the ordinance already contains prohibitions against storing unlicensed, unregistered cars. You know, everybody's 68 Camaro that they're repairing, that they're never going to repair, that just sits in a driveway forever. We already have prohibitions against that. This is now preventing people from going up on the lawn.
Thank you.
I'm getting
Commissioner Spiegelman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Following up on Commissioners Farron's and Jones's comments, it would seem to me that in that the example of somebody using gravel or whatnot to extend, just sort of try to cheat out an extended driveway would be in violation of, would basically be like extending their driveway without a permit. That's something that Mr. Mateo's department would bust them on anyway, and because it would be considered, even with gravel, it would be considered impervious surface under the new MS4 regulations. They would need to, if they wanted to extend their driveway, they would also have to get a rain barrel or something to handle the stormwater. I do like the idea of the political protest. Can you tear your gutters off as a political protest?
And Commissioner Sanchez will be over to Commissioner Jones's house tomorrow to check that out.
For sure. Motorcycle part.
I'll have some lemonade for you.
Any other commissioners? Any staff members, members of the audience?
Laura Lehman, 1431 Bryant Lane, and I did connect with the person Commissioner Klein mentioned, and she's pretty happy with Commissioner Farron that this is on the agenda, although she didn't know it was on the agenda, but she's pretty happy that it's on the agenda and that you're doing this. I think this is a benefit for everybody in the township. So thank you, Commissioner Farron, and all those who worked on that. The one thing that, as the discussion ensued on this is, I think I'm as confused as many people are in this township. As you know, I'm always confused, but I'm as confused as many are about complaint-driven enforcement. So if there's any way you could explain for a minute, perhaps Mr. Mateo could explain, so that the public understands, because apparently there are some things that the township can drive by maybe and see a car on the lawn and enforce it, and that at other times they will only enforce what somebody calls and complains about. And I'm not sure I understand the difference, or whether residents even understand. I hear them sometimes saying, I don't know why they don't do something about such and such. And on some occasions when I've asked, I've heard that, well, nobody complained about it, and we have complaint-driven enforcement. So is it possible we could just understand a moment how that works and where this fits in? Is this complaint-driven, or is this something, if the township sees it, they will pursue it? How does that work?
Thank you. I'm waiting for you to take your seat, and then I will see if Mr. Mateo would like to answer the question.
I'd love to answer. Thank you. This is generated by both. It's generated by complaint and also what we see on inspections driving around. Again, a lot of people out there are eyes and ears, and you don't see everything that goes on in the township. The 22,000 residents we have in Abington, along with the 15 square miles, we try to get, I don't have to staff 1,000 going out there. You always, and as you know, we get phone calls. I have some of you that call me at 6:45 in the morning, start giving me complaints, and this is a true thing. We have certain people, I'm not going to mention any names, the gentleman there who texts us every other day, or every hour, excuse me. We will act on it if we see it, or if you call in, or if the residents call in, we act on it. A lot of times people do not wish to give their names. That's fine. Just give me an address and the situation, and we will inspect it. A lot of times, which we do tell people, if there is a problem and if they're concerned with or complaint for the rear of someone's home, I always make sure, I said, I just want you to know, if you want to be anonymous, I said, they are going to know it's going to be one of the 4 of you that are adjacent to the property. So, but we do act on both, either complaint-driven or what we see out in the street. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Director Mateo. And of course, everyone's welcome to contact their commissioner, and we can funnel the...
And you know it, and I joke about it, but we're big on emails. So
Absolutely. And all the contact information appears in the township calendar, or just, you can contact any one of us, and I know people refer complaints over to the appropriate commissioner and to you, so thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right. All those in favor of CE4?
Aye.
Opposed?
Oh, aye.
You were in favor.
It was so long, I forgot.
CE4 carries. Comments on general matters of code enforcement and land development.
Laura Lehman, 1431 Bryant Lane. So obviously, the big issue in code enforcement is this $5 million lawsuit, which is accompanied by another lawsuit, $75,000 or more, in excess, in both cases in excess of those numbers, which happened by the exact issues that I kept bringing to this podium and that other residents alerted the commissioners to. For example, the memorandum of understanding on the colonnade that Commissioner Luker at one time said when it was decided they were going to postpone it, he said, it will come back. So the residents were waiting until it came back so that they could comment. But apparently it never came back. And the construction went ahead on the memorandum that was not approved at that meeting. And the residents who had comments were not given any opportunity to make those comments. Those particular actions became a central focus of this lawsuit. And the cost of the lack of transparency in this case, how hard it has been for us to get the information, to be informed, and to be working in concert with the people who are supposed to be working on our behalf. And when I say our behalf, in this particular case, there were 535 families that lived in the colonnade and many more affected. And the issue here is that this board needs to start turning that around so that transparency and working on behalf of the residents and addressing their complaints with them becomes a matter of course, rather than putting them aside, having them constantly frustrated and unable to access their government. So in this particular case, the cost will be enormous. And all of these things were things that were discussed and brought to the attention of all of the appropriate people in this room who were in charge of changing what happened. So I very much would like to say that at this point, you know, the only thing there is to say is that at any point you can decide to turn this around and make this government work for the people, instead of what will happen in this case, which is really interesting, is that, and I'll finish up with this thought, is that we had a landlord who did some things, was not challenged with the $1,000 a day he could have been challenged with on all the violations. In the end, we had a contractor that went ahead, again, without all of the public being given the proper opportunities. And what will happen in the end in this suit is we have the players who were not good attempting to be paid by the people that they hurt.
Thank you for your comments. Any final comments? Hearing none, we are adjourned.